5 members. The next order of business is to record roll call.
Muting,
Here?
Michael Coffey,
Here.
Seinhorst,
Here.
Elworth.
Here.
We have a quorum, and we'll proceed with the meeting. The next order of business is to approve the minutes from the last meeting. You still want to do that today? Okay. Is there any discussion on the minutes? I actually have a discussion on the minutes. On page 5 of the minutes, the third paragraph, it says something that I said that I did not say, and so I just want to make sure that the record is correct. It says something about Xing up. I don't know what that means, so I don't think I said it. So I know what I did say because I wrote it down before I said it. Do you want me to read it into?
Please, yeah.
Okay. Again, it's in that third paragraph on page 5. And what I said was because THC potency has increased so dramatically, the THC caps and limits are another critical piece to getting this right, reducing harms and preventing unintended consequences. That's what I said. I don't know what Xing it up means. So I would ask for us to consider that change if we're going to approve the minutes today.
I'll move to make the changes suggested.
Thank you. Second?
You have a second?
Okay. All in favor? Oh no, roll call. Sorry.
Muting,
Yes.
Coffey,
Yes.
Seinhorst,
Yes.
Elworth.
Yes. I'll move to approve the minutes as modified.
Second?
Muting,
Yes.
Coffey,
Yes.
Seinhorst,
Yes.
Elworth.
Yes.
All right. Minutes are approved. The next order of business is a public comment period. The public comment period here today is not a question and answer session. This will be an opportunity for the public to voice comments. Each speaker may comment only once. Offensive language, defamatory remarks, and hostile conduct will not be tolerated. Verbal outbursts or applause are not permitted in the meeting room and may cause for you to be asked to leave. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes and should state and spell their name for the record. The public comment period will be limited to 1 hour or less if there are not sufficient speakers. Can we have a show of hands of those who intend to speak? Okay. For those of you speaking today, is there anyone who needs to speak earlier during the public comment period and is unable to stay for the entire allotted time? Okay.
Hello, my name is Leah, L-I-A. My last name is Post, P-O-S-T. I would like to welcome the 2 new members. I've been advocating for medical cannabis for 10 years. I have a rare illness called complex regional pain syndrome. Its nickname is the suicide disease because so many people that have it take their own life. I made a promise I wouldn't beg up here again, so don't confuse my emotion with anything weak. Because I think I finally figured all this out. When they tried to make me an opioid addict and they didn't. When they tried to make me a benzodiazepine addict and they didn't. A sedative addict and they didn't. I mean, I am an alcoholic, but you know, it's Nebraska. But 8 years sober on that. So, I think that my desire to use a plant medicinally should be listened to. I think children that have seizures, people that have cancer, should have that as a viable option. There's already the choice of synthetic THC, which I've been prescribed, and that doesn't work for me personally. I make sure that every time I go to my medical team, they document how stressful it is fighting for my right to use this plant instead of a pharmaceutical. I'll be getting a stellite ganglion injection later this month to calm my system down. I go to PT, I do physical therapy. I practice a whole modality of therapies in order to manage my chronic pain. I'm not here to belittle you. I'm here to tell you the truth. My doctor has had medical cannabis on their weekly agenda meeting for over a year. Over a year. And this is the person that can prescribe me synthetic cannabis. I understand if there's fears about it, don't use it. But we had a petition drive, we did the work, people signed the petition, understood the petition. And your job is to do the will of the people. I don't know you. I'll see by your actions who you are and what you think and how you think. Who tells you to think? Because that's how it is here and we all know it. I'm really excited to see some amazing people here though in the audience. And Sweetwater Hemp has one of the most amazing facilities I've ever seen and a vast amount of knowledge. And if you don't notice, I actually hug a lot of people when they come in because I love them, because they care about patients. And I think that's the one thing that I have in common with them is I care about patients. It would be nice to see the same from the Medical Cannabis Commission.
Good afternoon. My name is Georgiana Schroeder Stanley. It's GEORGANHROEDERSTANLEY. Okay, the Senate's THC ban and industry reaction made me decide to talk about myself today. So here goes. Pain sends life in unexpected directions.
Ma'am, can you get the mic closer?
Oh. Okay.
Well, try it out.
Okay, should I start over, or did you hear me?
No, it's
Okay,
just
thank-
easier.
Okay, thank you. At the beginning of this year, I was planning a long trip to Europe, also travel in this country, but we didn't get to go to any of those places because I suddenly found myself in a no end in sight tooth condition from hell. Previous miserable tooth situations taught me tooth professionals won't help me with effective pain medication, so I'm on my own. Same story this time. Essential to have OxyContin or whatever the choice on hand in advance. Not difficult to obtain if one is determined. OxyContin is my choice, but I don't like the lingering side effects. And the longer the need to take it, the less effective it becomes. I remembered a friend talking about something. I called this friend and asked, "What is that stuff you like so much for pain, and how do you get it?" He said, "Go to a cannabis dispensary and buy 25 milligram THC gummies." Until then, I had never set foot in a cannabis dispensary. Through the horrible, painful summer, I used THC Delta 8 and Delta 9 and THC in combination with other edible cannabis. Attorney General Hilgers would be disappointed to know I did not end up in a poison control facility. Nor did I become intoxicated, psychotic, disoriented, accident-prone, addicted to any of the calamities he comes up with to squawk about. And even the large milligram THC doses I used never made me high. The way Mr. Hilgers advertises that effect, well, I don't know, maybe I should be disappointed. All it did was soften the incredible pain when I couldn't stand the pain anymore and give me my life back for a few hours at a time. And for that, I am thankful. Medical marijuana is the future, whether people in power like the prospect or not. The Senate's action has given black market operators reason to celebrate. All I'll say about the commission that I've seen so far is that your cruelty toward children with epilepsy is beyond recall. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Josh Egley, Joshegle. I'm family owns thousands of acres in Banner County, Nebraska since the late 1800s, and I've been in the cannabis industry for 20 years. The last 6 years I've been an owner of a medical marijuana dispensary in Arkansas, and 3 years ago I started a hemp company on the Wyoming side of our farm. I just have a few comments today. First, I was at a legislative hearing last month on this program, and there seems to be a narrative that certain people are applying for licenses strictly for financial gain. I just want to make it clear that it will be very hard to profit in this program. In fact, I find it just as likely that people who receive a license may lose money. I'm not here today to advocate for changes to the program. I just want people's expectations to be in line with reality. The products allowed in Nebraska are some of our worst selling products in Arkansas, and I don't foresee many patients going through the hoops to get their medical cards in Nebraska. And without large cardholder numbers, there will be very little revenue generated. That said, I did apply for a license and have some concerns on how that process unfolded. I understand you all were given a tough task on a tight deadline, but as an applicant, I found the transparency and communication lacking. After the application was submitted, there was no confirmation the application was received, simply a reply email saying thank you for your feedback. I still don't know for sure if our application was even in the lottery. Also, the fact that there was no notification of the lottery taking place and conducting it behind closed doors was frustrating. And also the fact that nobody involved in the grading of these applications has any real-world cannabis experience is troubling. It's easy these days to piece together a quality application, but without cannabis experience, it's tough to know if applicants can do what they say they're going to do. So those are just some comments I had for you guys. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is John Reagan, John Reagan. Welcome to the new members for coming in. I appreciate you all doing that. I hope in that same sentence that at least you two will come in with an open mind, because the other three we've got don't have one. We need somebody on that side of the table to support us. We don't have that with the three. Hopefully one of you two will stand up and take representation for over 600,000 people that voted for this. And that happening, and now 5 people are going to make changes to what over 600,000 people voted for. You're going to be the ones that are going to make the changes to set this up to fail. With what we've got set out there right now, it's a dead-end road. The only thing I can say is thank God the Omaha tribe is doing what they're doing. Now, as for Mr. Hilger standing up there threatening the public that if anybody goes up there, watch out, you're going to be arrested or pulled over or something. We're going to watch you coming out of the Indian grounds. And that's okay. Just see me. He doesn't threaten me. It's not threatening to me. It doesn't bother me one little bit. Because the commission is not doing what the will of the people said when we voted. You all's opinion, when you made it, was the day you voted for it, not now. That's passed. We won. Hilgers and Palin did not. They should not be controlling us. Last but not least, when will there be a question and answer meeting? So far, every one of them, it's just us talking. We don't get to hear from you and why you were doing as you were doing. Don't we at least respect just respect for us to have that? Think about it. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good afternoon. My name is Troy Burgess, TROYBURGESS. I'm speaking as myself today. Welcome, new committee members. Thank you for your time. I do want to clarify something that was said last time, that you guys are paid. And if I believe correctly, this is a volunteer position, and you're not paid. So I want to make sure that's clarified. The only other thing, I'll keep this real short, is we need to keep working on the progress forward. And I think we keep getting stuck in what we're doing wrong or what we don't agree on. And we need to find a common ground that we can keep moving forward to get the medication to the people as quickly as possible. Time is not on our patient's side, and we just need to keep moving that ball forward, and we can clean up a lot of this as we keep moving forward and not get stuck in arguments. That's all I got for today. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else wishing to speak? How about online?
We have three.
Okay.
The first one is Angel Marcelia.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I'm Angel Marcelia, Angelica, Marsagia. I'd like to take a moment of silence for Viola Ford Fletcher. Justice for Greenwood. I'd also like to speak on my handprint. I've come to this meeting before with this. This is silent protest for missing and murdered Indigenous. This feels targeted. They ignore abuse, they ignore survivor voices, and they ignore medical patients because they refuse to see medical cannabis as medicine. They treat us like addicts to justify their decisions. We patients saw hope when these initiatives passed, but the hope has been shattered, and leaders who continue to label this recreational just to deny us care. Their silence is not oversight, it's a pattern. The commission, the governor, the attorney general received repeated warnings about the harm these regulations would cause, especially to the sick, the disabled, our children, and our elders. They proceeded anyway. This is the same pattern we see across Nebraska. When people speak up, the government looks away, the most vulnerable pay the price. 1 second left. Survivors of domestic violence are dismissed. The children's disclosures are ignored. The patterns, and now patients from pediatric to elderly are all being ignored, denied the care, and unconstitutionalized one-size-fits-all rules and unconstitutionalized regulations designed to restrict, not heal. These officials claim they fear foreign influence, yet they meet with foreign governments who are known for violence against women and children in Gaza. Their words do not match their actions. Their concerns, it's not safety, it's control. The truth is simple. They ignore our comments, our emails, ignored our medical needs, and move forward knowing the harm. This is not protection. It is willful disregard for safety, for patients, and for the constitutional rights of the people they swore to serve, and we see it. There's still time to do what is right. There's still time to protect the people instead of politics. But that window is closing. Your names will be attached to these decisions long after today. And when people look back, they will remember whether you chose protection for patients or whether you chose power. You may ignore our words today, but you cannot escape the truth of what you are doing. Please, I ask the new commissioners, please do what is right. Help us patients. Cannabis is not one size fits all. If everyone has a certain dose. Everyone has every spectrum. There's so many different spectrums of dosing. No one can be expected to take the same dose at the same time every day. Thank you.
Next, we have Aaron Boisman.
Aaron, online?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay, fantastic. I'd like to thank everyone for inviting me to speak today. I find it very important that Nebraska does weed through...
Aaron, before you start, I'm
Yes.
sorry, can you state and spell your name for the record?
Yes,
Thank
my
you.
name is Aaron Orisman, Aaron Orisman.
Thank you.
I'm actually representing JBO Facility Supply LLC and Josh Orisman, and we will be applying for one of the applications when they set the precedent for time. And my experience has been the past 12 years in Arizona, where my family operates and owns 3 dispensary licenses, both medical and recreational. And I've had the opportunity to be involved in everything from retail to grow to manufacturing supplies. At the moment, I currently manage a 20,000 square foot facility for the past 10 years, which does manufacture mostly medical products to the patients of Arizona. And we find that in Arizona, we work with flower, edibles, concentrates, but my passion has always been to help the medical health market create new products and find better qualities of life for people. What we've also found is the key to most all of these products comes through the laboratory. So because Nebraska is limiting the smoking of flower and vaping, most everything grown at the flower level will just have to go to a laboratory for some type of conversion into either what's called a live or cured resin, isolate, a distillate, Rick Simpson oil, RSO, possibly a rosin, all these different types of products directly affect the patient in what the product that they're going to be used in is. So I just want to mention that it's not as important to worry about the potency of the THC on the flower side, because all of that needs to be converted into one of these types of oils or isolates, which automatically puts them into a much higher dose of THC. For instance, distillate completely takes away all of the other cannabinoids and concentrates on the THC molecule only, The THC is what's effective for pain patients mostly. But in the medical side, we find that all the different types of products that can be made are much more beneficial than just distilling the THC. For instance, you have CBD, which helps with inflammation, CBG, which helps with anxiety, CBN, which helps with sleep. For those, we like to use what's called
Sir, I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
This is, you were an invited speaker for the manufacturers. This is actually for the public comment period, and it's limited to 3 minutes. So I'm going to stop you.
I'm sorry, I thought I was being called for that.
No, you're actually specifically on the agenda, and we'll call you by name if you can stick around for a bit.
Yes, absolutely. I apologize for jumping in there.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else wishing to speak online for the public comment?
Christy Moore.
Okay. Christy Noor? Christy, are you there?
Yes,
Okay,
here I am. Sorry, I was
That's-
trying to unmute.
that's okay.
My name's Christy Knorr.
Oh, now you're muted, Christy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My name is Christy Knorr, CHRISTY, I am a registered nurse in the state of Nebraska, and I am coming here to advocate for all of the medical marijuana patients in Nebraska. Welcome to the 2 new members of the commission. I really hope that you come into this with your heart and your minds open, because people deserve choices. Patients deserve choices. I am a hospice nurse, so I deal with end of life quite frequently. Quality of life is very important. And medical cannabis does help people have a better quality of life. I really hope that y'all will move forward and choose not to have all of these restrictions. As I am out knocking doors and talking to constituents, people are really upset with the Cannabis Commission. I mean, really upset, and really upset that you're not following the will of the people. And I would encourage you and implore you to do that, because we're watching you. We're paying attention, and this isn't going away, and we're not going away. Thank you.
Next we have Trevor Riley.
Okay, Trevor Riley for public comment.
Hello, my name is Trevor Riley, TrevorReilly. I am testifying in support of a freer market approach to ensure that the supply meets the demands. I'm opposed to the bottleneck that these regulations serve. Bottlenecking is a constraint in a production process that limits overall productivity and output and efficiency. It's a point at which the flow of goods is hindered, and it traditionally carries an economic consequences such as increased costs, reduced productivity, and the proliferation of black market alternatives. I see multiple bottlenecks and overly burdensome regulations that should be struck down or loosened in these regulations. For instance, I don't support the seed-to-sale tracking system. I think producers signing up to comply with the law shouldn't be subject to a cost-inhibiting process that slows down production. I understand the premise of preventing leaks to the black market, but there can and should be alternatives. Why not simply require product weight or batch totals? You don't really have any idea how annoying it is to take a tag off while keeping it married to every single plant during the harvest, the cutting, and the curing phase. Excuse me. I think it should be assumed that producers will follow the law, and as the false statements clause suggests, fraud is clearly good ground for revoking their license. If an employee or license holder facilitates the transfer of product to the black market, they've committed fraud, and the appropriate resolution is to hold them accountable. Yeah, I know, Betty. This follows a foundational principle of the presumption of innocence, and the commission is basically ensuring that is basically ensuring this through the security requirements. I know, Betty. Sorry, I couldn't find childcare today, so I had to, have my daughter with me. Moving on, I find it arbitrary to prohibit the medical professional from holding a license or being a part of a business for 5 years after writing an order or recommendation. But otherwise, the prohibition on prohibited persons makes sense, along with the restriction on covered locations. The number of licenses is incredibly regressive. Limiting one dispensary per district is economically illiterate. The same applies to cultivator, manufacturer, and transporter licenses. I won't really fight the residency requirement, but I think it should be reduced to 1 year. Fingerprinting for renewals is also arbitrary and burdensome, as is the entire resubmission process. Wouldn't it be more efficient to request changes to the business plan and the required information? The lottery rule is also regressive because you could increase the licensed cultivators and producers. I'd say make it 50 because 5,000 is too many, and a paltry dozen that we have is far too few. The bond is also something to balk at. For all the fear I've heard of big marijuana, these regulations uphold a barrier to entry that primarily only big businesses can really afford. The no refills regulation should be loosened to at least 2 refills. The prohibition on the use of marijuana flower, you're good. Prohibition on use of marijuana flower will continue to drive applicable patients to other states to fill their need, and it seems only to be rooted in a false belief that smoking marijuana does not have health benefits. It is simply the most rapid delivery mechanism, and as the regulations have supported nebulizers here, the Commission is coming extremely close to finally realizing that point, and that all you need to do is permit the vaporization of flower. I'll offer another solution with striking the transportation requirement. Instead of siloing that position in the industry, simply state the requirements of producers and cultivators to provide documentation under transportation requirements. It's up to this commission to implement a program that gives Nebraskans access to marijuana to prevent a recreational initiative from being the only and other reform that delivers what the people are asking for. Even if you met every single one of the pushbacks that I've given today, it comes decades far away from the wild, wild west. So I would encourage you to look at some of those suggestions, and I can also email it to the commission. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak for public comment? All right. The next order of business is the invited manufacturer listing session. The Medical Cannabis Commission requests input from cannabis products manufacturers to aid the Commission in finalizing regulations related to manufacturing licensing. The Commission invited potential product manufacturers to give input on product manufacturing for each type of cannabis product in the regulations. Invited speakers were asked to discuss best practices for ensuring patient safety in the manufacturing process for each type of cannabis product listed in the regulations. Each invited speaker will have 3 minutes to deliver opening remarks about their expertise in the product manufacturing industry. The Commission reserves the right to ask further questions of the speakers. At this time, the Commission would like to call up the first invited speaker, Heath Martin, President of Canna.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Heath Martin, Heathmartin. As you noted, I am the owner and founder of Canna Extraction. We are a cannabis extraction lab here in Wichita, Kansas. We use liquid CO2 as our chosen extraction method, and we can process roughly 1,000 pounds of cannabis a day. Now, like I said, I'm in Kansas, so primarily it's CBD and low THC extraction that we do. But I would encourage you guys to definitely take a look at the economic viability of the program that you're setting forth. Just here, doing some quick math, it looks like your population is roughly 2 million people. If 5% of those got a medical card, that's 100,000 patients. If each one of those patients use 15 milligrams per day, you're looking at a need of roughly 20,000 pounds of cannabis annually, and those are unbelievably conservative numbers that I just mentioned. The economic viability has to be there for not only the processors or the manufacturers, but also the patients. So like I said, our chosen extraction method is CO2. That is a very expensive game to play. it's a safe game, and it's a game we enjoy playing. But if there's no economic viability for the processor or manufacturer, you're going to have a system that pushes clients to the black market while leaving your license holders, both growers and processors, in the dark or potentially losing money. I do feel that third-party testing is absolutely necessary for all of these products. So I think you need to put that in your rules and regs and set up exactly what those tests need to look like or what they need to be testing for. And I would encourage you to take a look at also the delivery methods that you have for your patients. As mentioned before, there are very rapid onset delivery methods, such as vape or nebulizers. And of course, allowing people to smoke flower would also be a rapid onset as well. I would love for anybody to reach out with any questions, but other than that, thank you.
Does anyone on the commission have questions? So you mentioned, I do, sorry. You mentioned nebulizers, yes?
Yes.
Okay, do you manufacture those currently?
The nebulizer itself is just an apparatus that would be used to vaporize the cannabinoids that are on the cannabis plant. I mean, it's very similar to a nebulizer that you would use for your child if they had pneumonia or RSV or something like that. It's basically warm air being forced into the lungs that allows the vaporization of the oils that are on the plant.
Okay.
So those oils would essentially still have to go through a processor or manufacturer unless you allowed people to take those directly off the flower. But yeah, that's a very rapid onset for somebody that's in pain.
Do you have, are you aware, is there a medical grade certification for manufacturing facilities that you're aware of?
Not necessarily that I'm aware of. We meet or exceed what's called GMP manufacturing standards or good manufacturing practices. It's really difficult right now because hemp, cannabis, marijuana, none of that is currently regulated by the FDA. So they haven't established those rules and regs yet. So us as industry professionals, we have taken it upon ourselves to meet or exceed those rules so that if this does ever come under FDA scrutiny, we're already there. And that's a very expensive process as well.
Sorry, I'm just looking over my list of things. So your process that you use, your extraction process is a chemical process, not a non-chemical process, correct?
Well, I mean, you can call it a chemical. It's CO2. It's liquid CO2. It's in the atmosphere. It's all around us. So essentially,
But different than a resin press.
It is not a resin press at all.
So that one is more natural, correct? The resin press?
I don't know that it's any more natural. We breathe CO2 in every day, all day.
Okay.
The reason that we chose CO2 is a lack of other solvents in our building. Ultimately, there's many ways to extract cannabinoids from cannabis plants. We didn't, for our size, using ethanol or any hydrocarbons was just going to be prohibitive based upon the amount of those solvents we would have to have around. And the CO2 for us was a natural process, or a much more natural process. We can compress this. I mean, it's essentially the same thing that you get in a carbonated beverage. It's beverage grade CO2. We compress that down to a liquid. We use it as a solvent to remove the cannabinoids from our plant material. And then the minute that we take those oils and they reach ambient pressure or just room pressure, natural pressure, the CO2 gases off. It bubbles off and goes right back into the atmosphere from which we captured it. So no danger to anybody down the line as far as your patients are concerned.
Sir, what's the basis for your 5% figure on the number of people who might be using?
So I took 5% as half of the surrounding states' medical card recipients in their first year. Oklahoma, I believe, was 11. Missouri was somewhere between 11 and 12. Ultimately, I've testified in front of our Kansas government as well. I've always used 5% as that because that is half of states that were neighboring us. And ultimately, it sounds like your program and/or a program that Kansas is going to implement is going to be maybe unnecessarily restrictive. So I always wanted to use very conservative figures.
Thank you.
I just have one more question, sorry. Outside of the testing required by the commission, you mentioned testing. So outside of the testing required by the commission, what kind of testing should product manufacturers enlist to produce the best product for patients?
I mean, I think ultimately there's 5 tests that I like to see, and that could be in the cannabis concentrate before it's manufactured into a product or in the final product itself. Number 1 is potency. You've got to ensure accurate potency. If you tell somebody that this bottle of tincture contains 300 milligrams, it certainly needs to. The second one is pesticides. Ultimately, this is a medicine. This is something that people are taking to get better. We don't want to have any pesticides in any end product. The third one would be heavy metals. Hemp, cannabis, those plants do have a tendency to draw some heavy metals from soils. So I would make sure that was a test as well. And then microbials. You certainly want to make sure that a microbial test has been done and that there's no microbial contamination in the end product. The other one that I would suggest would be like a mycotoxins or a fungus test, but that's almost irrelevant if you're not going to allow anybody to consume flower. Once you go through a process, like Mr. Orsman said previously, of distillation or decarboxylation, you're going to be heating this product up significantly, and most of the time that will get rid of any of the mycotoxins or the microbials. But definitely potency, pesticides, and heavy metals at a bare minimum.
Thank you. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time today. It looks like we have no more questions, so let's move on to the next invited speaker. Will Brett Mayo, on behalf of Sweetwater Hemp Company, please come to the podium?
Hello, my name is Brett Mayo. That's B-R-E-T-T-M-A-Y-O, and I'm the Chief Marketing and Extraction Officer at Sweetwater Hemp Company, actually based out of Pleasanton, Nebraska. We opened in January of 2020, and we've been making CBD products ever since. I'm just going to relay quite a few things that he said previously. The biggest difference between what he's saying and what we're doing is we do a completely solventless extraction. We use ice and water, and then we can either press and go into a rosin, or we can go into a full spectrum oil, which is great for tinctures and stuff like that. With our product, you're going to get a lot more, a natural product. You're going to get more minor cannabinoids, a terpene profile, a flavonoid profile, so you're going to get a more wide range within the product. How I kind of like to state it is kind of like taking Centrum compared to like just iron, if you're like taking it as a supplement. So we have more things within our realm that so everything the plant has to offer, we take off it and we do it. It's ice and water in a wash. You don't have to try to comb off. We collect it, and like I said, we either press it into a rosin, or it goes into a full spectrum oil. I did want to clarify there is 2 different things. Resin and rosin are 2 different things. Rosin is going to be a solvent in this product, whereas resin is usually a butane extraction. Like I said, we do everything right. We're CGMP. I'm actually kosher certified on items. I've been registered with the OTC. We try to be completely transparent with everything we do. I fully invite any of you guys to come out and look at the facility. I've hosted 8 to 10 different senators and their teams. I invited the AG, I invited the governor, I invited everybody. I do big groups like Leadership Kearney, Leadership Nebraska. I've had the LEAD program out. What I do is basically educate. I educate all day, every day. I'm actually going to a conference tomorrow to learn more. But I really want to make myself available to you guys, and I feel like I try to do that. I know you guys are in a very tough position with the people at the Capitol are kind of putting you in, but I would love to be there as a resource for you. I tell the senators all the time, I'm not a lobbyist. I'm not any of those things. If you want a black and white answer, I'll give you that. Or if you want a opinion, I can give you that as well. But that's just how I am and who I am is very black and white. So I try to do that for you. We already do bulk wholesale. We do bulk retail, white label. So we do all those different things. We're completely set up for all those things. We already make suppositories, which I think is going to be a bigger one with the restrictions that we have, which I don't really agree with, but that's not really my decision to make. But that's kind of the one that would be a bottleneck for some people because they're very difficult and their formulations and all that stuff.
They're difficult to make, sorry.
Yeah, if you're making them by hand, you're not going to be able to make them in bulk and get them out to the recipients because you're going to be taking them daily or maybe twice a day. But we already have the machine on hand. I have the tincture machine on hand. The only thing that we would really work towards is the nebulizer, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Vaping and nebulizing isn't a huge difference. But that was something we have to work with. The transdermal patches I kind of already have figured out. We personally don't retail those right now because not a lot of people buy them. But yeah, that's kind of my whole spiel. But yeah, I invite every single person out. Every single door at my facility is wide open. Like I said, I host people, groups. Anybody who wants to come out, I encourage you guys to use us, specifically people in Nebraska and have been through it. I've worked with farmers, I've worked with retail, I have backgrounds in all, but we've grown hemp for 5 years. We've been extracting for 4.5, 5 years. I have a retail website. The transporter license is completely, doesn't make a lot of sense. A lot of what you guys are going to, like, sometimes you're going to need a reefer truck to deliver it. I don't know if any transporter is going to understand that. Also, I would really write a definition of what each of those are. From being you have it as manufacturing, is it manufacturing and extraction, or are you going to think that the grower is going to do the extraction? I think that really needs to be laid out within each spot so you know exactly what you're going to apply for, because it's not cheap to do. Like, we have over $5 million invested in our facility, and we've been waiting for either this or recreational to come so we can really provide safe and healthy products for people. That's all I really have. You guys have questions, like I said, I'll leave my card with you guys, or right now I'm happy to answer anything you guys have.
So what's the name of your company again?
Sweetwater Hemp Company. We're about 20 minutes straight north of Kearney in Pleasanton.
Thanks.
Any other commissioners? So can you explain a little bit about the difference kind of between a metered dose, like inhaler, versus vaporization? I mean, I've heard a couple of times, I think, that people are saying those are kind of the same thing, but I feel like metered dose inhaler might be a little bit different. Can you speak to that?
I don't know if I can speak directly to that. There's not a lot of those things sold. I've had contacts from all over the United States, and actually the conference I'm going to, I'm meeting with somebody about possibly figuring out how to do this nebulizer thing, because people are usually have the option to vape or just smoke flower. So it's a very new thing that we would have to look into to be able to produce. Personally, I think that people should have a choice how they take their medicine. I don't know why we would be, as a patient, wouldn't be able to decide with the doctor what is best for me. But it also makes it very easy and a lot more inexpensive. That's the other thing that I really worry about is when you're dividing all these things. Some of the numbers that were said growers what they're going to get per pound is just completely off. There's no real life numbers in those kind of things. But if you can continually split the cake in half and half and half and half, it's just not going to be a lot of money made. And we've actually had a discussion. I want the license. I want to see it through. If we get to a year and we're not making any money, which is going to be very hard to make money, it's going to be hard to stay open and continue to do that.
Okay. You mentioned tinctures. Are you, so currently, like medical grade tinctures, is that what you're kind of producing now, only on the CBD side?
So there's not really medical grade for Nebraska or CBD, like he previously said, there's no really rules. What we do with this CGMP and kosher and all those things is above and beyond what we have to do. I actually we run another business across the street for, we get third party audited every year by Walmart. We've been doing it, everything we've done over there at my facility, so when they do start regulating it, we can take the 14 binders and show them to them and kind of prove what we're doing in like proof of concept and what we're doing, so you guys and the patients can feel comfortable with what we're doing. The tinctures itself, what we do is completely different. We go into a bubble hash, and then it goes into a machine that's actually patented, and it actually heats up the bubble hash and infuses it directly into the tincture oil, whether it be MCT, hemp seed oil, whichever we prefer. We actually use MCT for the most part, but we infuse it into the oil, and it allows it to keep the minor cannabinoids, the terpene profile, and the flavonoid profile. Like I said, with our extraction method and what we use, nobody presents the products that we do from a full spectrum perspective.
So is it possible to get a tincture that is consistent, like not,
Yep.
I mean, so each dose would be the same, kind of like my question with the meter dose inhaler, you're getting the exact same dosage every single time.
Yep. So with our tinctures, what we do, it's kind of like, I kind of compare it to making a cocktail. So you're going to run it up as high as cannabinoid content as you can, and then you're just going to cut it with more MCT oil. So if you want to double, you actually double the alcohol and you can pour it on top of it. So you're just going to get down to that number, which in this situation would be THC would be the number, and the minor cannabinoid or the terpene profile and the flavonoid is all extra.
So each dose would be the same?
Yep, so you're going to get in increments on the dosing. You're going to take it out on the dropper, and then that's going to be your dosage.
How long, if someone used a tincture sublingually, like under the tongue, how long would that take to take effect?
It's very different for different people. Some people it's as little as 5 to 10 minutes. Most people it's going to be pushing 20 to 30. It's not that much different than an edible.
Would it depend on the potency of the tincture?
Yes and no. That's the hardest part about what we do is when we're prescribing CBD. I go back to CBD because that's what we've been doing. CBD affects everybody differently, and it takes a little bit to figure out what your specific dosage is. Because all this is a supplement into your body. From a CBD perspective, is you're supplementing something that's already in your body. So like me and you are going to have completely different DNA. We're going to have different things that we need. That's why when I say our full spectrum, we're going to have CBD, CBN, CBC, like all those different cannabinoids. So it helps a broader range of people.
Sir, you started to say it's not much different than edibles. Can you go further on that?
Like you said, it depends on the person. Some edibles hit certain people very quickly, and some people will take 35, 40 minutes. Like I said, it's just what that person, every single person is different, and the dosage that they need to get what they want out of it is going to change. And like I said,
Are you telling us that in some instances the edible could take effect in 25 or 30 minutes, in other instances 5 to 10 minutes?
Yep, it's completely dependent on the person. And from my personal experience, I think a lot has to do if you're taking it with food or you're dehydrated or you're well hydrated. It can really change. But like I said, every person is different. I happen to think it's a lot with hydration. If you're hydrated, your body's going to accept that cannabinoid better and more quickly.
So there arguably may not be much difference at all between the edibles and the others.
In the tincture, no. The biggest difference is going to be from your inhalables, smoking it, vaping it, compared to everything else you're going to put in your body. It will most of the time hit a little bit quicker if you're taking it orally as a tincture than an edible, but I don't think it's that much of a difference. The big difference is vaping and smoking it to the other options. Even the suppository, it's not going to be that much different, even though it's going to probably accept better. Like we already have probably 4 or 5 different CBD formulations for suppositories that we send out California and other places that I work with a distributor who distributes those already, and they are definitely gaining popularity in the bigger popularity markets.
Do you have any things that you'd like to see in testing requirements?
I think he kind of hit the nail on the head with a lot of it. I would very much encourage you to set numbers. I think the biggest thing that I've taken from a lot of the people from the Capitol have been saying is on the CBD side, Nebraska's so far behind in just presenting us what the rules are we have to follow. The only number that we have to follow is the 0.3%. There's no heavy metals, there's none of that testing in Nebraska. But I think those 5 that he said, we actually, we do 5 for our retail products. We do potency, terpenes, mycotoxins, pesticides, and heavy metals for our own products. With ours being natural, there is sometimes presence of heavy metals, but it's usually very low. Like he was saying, hemp does an outstanding job of pulling heavy metals out of the ground as a rotational crop, which is a whole other subject. But I don't think those numbers should be 0. I think they should be put at a level comparable to other states. And like I would encourage you guys to go look at a vast amount of other states, not just Iowa or not just Missouri. Go look at how these other states have set up their plans to help the patients and bring them all together and make the best one possible. I feel like a lot of people are going straight to Iowa, and Iowa's medical program is going down the drain.
What do you mean?
The amount of people that have medical cards has gone down. The amount of distributors has gone down. The amount of retail locations has gone down because they're so restrictive. Because people are just going to drive to Missouri, get what they want, and come home. So
You know that for a fact.
Yep, I've watched numbers every year.
Not the numbers, but the people are actually, the cards or numbers are dropping because people are just going to Missouri. Or is that what you're assuming?
I would very much assume it, and I know people in Iowa that have driven down there because they can't really buy my products over the state line because of how restrictive Iowa is. But people aren't just disappearing from taking a product that's going to help them.
Once again, it's an assumption.
I said I personally know people that drive to Missouri from Iowa and go get products there.
I know, but I'm talking about total numbers, okay? You're telling me they're dropping.
Yep.
And you're assuming that that's because of the restrictive nature of Iowa's regs.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
I was just looking through our current set of regulations, and there are a multitude of numbers in here. Are you familiar with any of these, what we have in here for testing?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so there are, and we have looked at a multitude of different states for testing requirements. I've personally talked to 19 different people in 19 different states. So I just wondered if you were familiar with what we had in here. And
Not the exact numbers, no. I just encourage it to not be 0. I know some states that deal at 0 on all of it, and it really restricts the amount of products that can be made by different extraction systems. So like mine being 100% natural, I'm not going to hit it with a solvent like butane, CO2, or anything like that to remove that stuff, but it's naturally coming out of the ground, the same ground that's going to grow corn.
So that would be heavy metals, the heavy metal pieces.
It's more often than not, especially with your outdoor grows, which I think you're going to run into a lot of, just from a cost standpoint. From a lot of the growers that submitted are going to probably want to grow outside, just from a cost standpoint. We actually have an acre-and-a-half greenhouse right across the street, and I know how expensive they are.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Let's move on to the next invited speaker. Will Troy Burgess, on behalf of Boger Village of Nebraska, please come to the podium.
Thanks for having me. So I've been working in the cannabis industry in Oklahoma for 5 years. We've been a hemp grower before that in the state of Nebraska, and now we're still a U.S. licensed hemp grower in Nebraska. We do basically full manufacturing. We're vertically integrated. So we do cultivation, manufacturing / processing, and all the way to distribution. So the systems we use is basically similar to the last speaker. We don't use any chemical extraction. Those chemical extraction systems are large. They can do 1,000 pounds processed a day. We use, basically water, and we do resin presses. So everything we do is more of a natural product, where we get more of the natural organic compounds of the plant. So we get your full spectrums, and we can turn those into either oils or concentrates. That's our expertise. So everything we do is basically solvent-free. It's food-safe extraction. There's no chemical residue. Everything we do is FDA aligned with batch records, SOPs, including sanitation equipment, repeatable process, and preventing contamination. We do everything as mandatory third-party testing. We take that upon ourselves. In the state of Oklahoma, you only have to test the concentrate. And once you make a finished product, there's no testing required for that product. So what we do is we go beyond that and we actually test. So like when we're making gummies, we will send our gummies in for testing. Because what we've seen a lot of manufacturers do is they'll use a concentrate. We're putting in 25 milligrams of THC concentrate, and that gummy might be 1,000 milligrams total, and 25 milligrams of that is actually THC. And we have patients in the past where they've taken gummies where they didn't work. And then they take another gummy and they're basically way over potency. So they have a very bad experience. So they don't come back to the medicine that they need to help improve their lives. So we take that on ourselves to do the extra testing. We also test for the terpene profile, resident solvents, microbials, pesticides, and heavy metals. We document waste, we document any solvents. We don't use them, but that should be documented if you go with a solvent processing company that does CO2 or DOH. We process this stuff into pretty much everything that we're looking to use here in the state. We don't do the nebulizer stuff because in Oklahoma and on the CBD, people smoke it, and that's the quickest way to inhale it. But everything else we do time-release capsules where we can use different oil carriers that will break down in your body over time. So you'll get a dose of medicine in an hour, you'll get another dose in another hour, and that can last up to 4 hours. So you can take less pills. We can stretch that out to 8 hours depending on the oils that we carry in our capsules. We've done patches before. We do a lot of creams. We haven't done the laboratories yet. It's not something we've been asked for. But our main one's probably gummies, pills, and then creams is what we do the most of. That would be the same of what you're looking for here in Nebraska. The thing that we're looking for in a manufacturer, you should be looking for, is repeating manufacturing controls. What people need, we need to make sure, because these are the manufacturers are the last person to touch the medicine before the patient takes it. They have to have controls in place that are repeatable and consistent. They have to ensure that we're getting good quality medicine to the patients consistently, like you would on any other pharmaceutical. And that's how it should be treated. How much am I on time? Okay. All right. So, we've worked with some great companies in the past. We've done with Apothecary, which is in Oklahoma and Colorado. We work with The Elevated, which is in Oklahoma. We don't do this alone. We find groups of people that we work with consistently that have the same philosophy as we do. We want to ensure that we provide the best quality medication to our patients at a competitive price. So, my fears is if we bring in a bunch of processors that do CO2 extraction, there's not going to be enough volume to handle those here in the state. With the limitations we have that we're setting up, 1,250 flowering plants, one CO2 extractor can process that in less than half a year or less. So to me, the licenses should be somewhat restrictive if we're ready to be very restrictive on the cultivators. We don't need 4 processors to process full cultivators. In Oklahoma, there's 1,000 growers and there's 17 hazardous processors right now. We don't do hazardous processing because it's too cheap to buy. We do everything other than chemical extraction we do ourselves. So I would take that into account when you look at your rules and regs. Thank you.
Help me out. Did you say you can have a gummy, 1,000 milligram gummy, with 25 milligrams of THC, is that what you said?
Yes.
And that, I guess depending on the way it's manufactured or processed, a person could take one and not have any effect, and then take another one and be overly effective.
It can, depending on
how does that happen?
It's basically stratification in the process. So a lot of manufacturers, they're doing it quick, easy, and they're trying to make money, right? And they don't do enough blending in the process. So when they mix in the concentrate into their gummy mix, which is a liquid, they don't blend it constantly enough. And when they disperse that into their gummy molds, this part of the gummy didn't get enough of the medicine, so it becomes inactive. So you can get gummies that will be over-concentrated or under if they don't have a good SOP system to ensure they get enough disbursement of the medication in the gummy. And that's why I believe you should test them after you make some in a batch mode to help ensure that.
And by SOP, you mean, standard
operating procedures,
yes.
yes. Yeah. Everything that we're doing in our industry, we're self-regulating. So we basically do what we can to match what any other pharmaceutical company does. We take that upon ourselves. Is it the cheapest way? No. Is it the right way? Absolutely.
But going back to the example.
Yes.
So, I guess I'm looking at it like, you throw ice cream in with malt, make a malted milk, you only blend it for 10 seconds.
Correct.
You may not
you hit it on the head.
dispersed everything you want dispersed.
Correct.
Okay. But the same amount of calories are in it. Okay. So if you put the 25 milligrams in the 1,000, 975
Correct.
milligrams. If you consume the whole gummy, it still can have adverse effects depending on the way it's blended.
No one's ready to take a 1,000 milligram gummy bar. Most gummies are sold in 10 counts, so it might be 1,000 milligrams of gummies, and there's 10 pieces in there. So they're.
I see. So you can get one that's very potent,
Correct.
one that's not.
So in that bag of 10 or 20 pieces, some will be a lot more potent than others, and that's where we have that problem in Oklahoma now.
So you've seen this with other manufacturers?
Yes, that's why we make our own gummies.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Burgess, I
Yeah.
missed something.
Sure.
You talked about your extraction methods. You said you used water and what other method?
Water and ice. Yeah, water and ice is one of them. We use a cold press, which is basically, it does it under pressure with no chemicals.
That's what I heard.
And then we also do RSOs, which is with alcohol.
Thank you. I tried to write this down as you were speaking as well, that you have a number of delivery methods. You've got time release capsules, patches, creams, gummies. Am I missing anything?
RSO, which is a paste that most of our cancer patients use for an increased appetite. We make it with Everclear, and it helps strip more of the plant material, so it turns into almost like a gray-green paste. Sometimes it'll go black, depending on which strains we're using. And that is very potent, and it gives you basically a full spectrum of the whole plant. So you'll get everything that plant grows, which is like hundreds of different cannabinoids will be in that. We don't strip anything out, and that will help cancer patients with appetite, pain, and it's very potent. So it comes in a syringe, and you're talking a dose of like a grain of rice. And most of these patients can't eat, so they'll put it under their tongue or on a cracker or something that they can take.
And you may not have the actual expertise to say this, so I'll ask you maybe anecdotally, do you see or do you just feel that let's say the time release capsule and a gummy have the same amount? Is one delivery method better than the other? Does one help a patient more than the other? What's the best way to get these ingested?
It depends on the patient. Some people, like if you don't have a gallbladder, and I'm not a doctor, but if you don't have a gallbladder a gallbladder, you don't digest food in a certain way. So sometimes gummies don't work. You can take your daily limit of THC that you can get prescribed in 90 days, and you won't have any effect because your body will not absorb it. It'll just pass through. So it really depends on the patient. Some people like the gummies because they can not overdose. They can control themselves a little bit better. Some like the capsules because then they don't have to constantly take gummies. And it also depends on what kind of concentrate you're putting in the gummies. So if you're using an extracted product that's just basically strict THC, those will wear off in 3 or 4 hours. If you're taking more of a full spectrum, those will last longer, but you're not going to get the pain relief or the high that some patients need. So it really depends on the patient and what you're looking for relief.
You mentioned the pills and the full spectrum. Is it possible to get the terpenes and all of those in the pills and the time release capsules?
Yeah, that's basically what full spectrum is we're basically taking as much of the cannabinoids in the full profile of the plant and putting it in those delivery methods.
Mm-hmm.
It's the extraction method that gives you full spectrum.
Sir, do you agree with Mr. Mayo on the time that these things become effective? For example, what gummies compared to the tinctures?
Gummies will take the longest. And it really depends on the patient. We say on average, when we're having a new patient come in for the first time and they want to use gummies, we'll tell them take a half one or take a quarter one, depending on the potency that they're looking for, and give it 30 minutes. And then after that, if you need more relief, take another half or so. Tinctures, the medical profession will say they work faster. Again, I'm not a doctor. The people that we sell tinctures to, they seem to like them better because maybe it's because of the gummies and the actual gummy material they don't get along with. So again, it really depends on the patient. It's not like just popping a pill.
Well, it's similar to if you're eating a meatloaf, mashed potato dinner, go out and have a couple of drinks.
Right.
As opposed to the person who just goes out and has a couple of drinks.
Right. Yeah.
Do you say you use Everclear to make these?
We do to make the RSO, yes.
Okay.
It's the best way, and then we vaporize the Everclear off.
Yeah.
So there's no alcohol left. Yeah, there's no medicine. So. Yeah, but tinctures, in the methods that we have available to us in the statute, those would probably be the quickest, other than an inhaler or a vaporizer.
And with that, kind of the same question we asked earlier about the metered dose inhaler. I mean, can you kind of tell me how that product would work and how that's different? Like getting a metered dose of THC, it seems to me like it's kind of what you're saying with the gummies, where it's not consistent with a metered dose inhaler. You would get a consistent dose every time versus...
As long as the inhaler is made properly, yes. Inhalers, I have asthma, so I use an inhaler. So when I pop an inhaler, it's a certain amount of medicine delivered at one time. A vaporizer, I've used those when I've been hospitalized with pneumonia. And those are metered, but they are dosed over a longer period. So they get pushed more into your lung. Then an inhaler is more like a fast-acting response.
Right, so inhalers should be, by all means, they're fast-acting and it's stopping someone from having an asthma attack.
Again, I'm not a doctor, but yeah, they should be fairly fast-acting. But again, they don't get into the depth of the lung as a nebulizer would. And we don't nebulize usually in Oklahoma because everybody smokes. I mean, if that's their delivery method, they smoke fire or a concentrate. but we do
But that's
sell
not a
inhalers.
metered, it's not a metered dose, so,
It can be, yeah. It can be metered. I mean, depending on how they buy the vapor, nebulizer fluid.
but
that can be
nebulizers,
metered.
yes, but I mean smoking wouldn't be a metered dose.
Correct. It would not be a
And
metered
vaping
dose.
wouldn't be either.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you again the same question I asked someone else. Medical grade certification for manufacturing facilities, is there one of those?
Not-
Is there, that you're aware of?
Not because we're an uncontrolled industry.
Okay.
So-
What, is there medical grade certification for other manufacturing facilities?
There are, and they're FDA compliant. So you can follow those rules, but you can't get certification.
Okay, so you could follow the same rules
We
as the
do,
other? Yes,
yes.
and you do. Okay, perfect. No certification because the product is not FDA approved, but is it expensive to follow those FDA medical grade certifications?
It's more expensive to do it than not, absolutely. Do we have probably more waste because we follow these certain rules? Yes. Do we have a lot more procedures, documentations, quality controls in place? Yes. So that does make the cost go up. Do we have clean rooms? Yes, we do all these things. So those do increase costs.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the next invited speaker. Aaron, are you still on? Aaron Orsman? On behalf of JBO Facility Supply. Here.
Chair, I would remind you that the speaker has already made his presentation. You may want to move to questions because you do have an agenda item that you have to get to at 2:30.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. All right. Hi, Aaron.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, once again, I'm Aaron Orisman, AARON-ORISMAN, on behalf of JBO Facility Supply, LLC. And I won't start from the beginning because you've got to hear a little bit of my spiel already. I've got 12 years in the Arizona legal cannabis market, where we produce for both medical patients as well as recreational. Our first 5 years was spent with medical patients only, and then the community. Yes.
Aaron, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want to, we have something we have to get to at 2:30, and since we've heard some of this, I just want to make sure if there's anything else you want to let us know. Otherwise, I think probably we may have some questions for you. If there's anything as you've been listening that you'd like to add.
Well, I haven't heard a lot about packaging and labeling.
Okay.
Where the actual details for the consumer are available. I find that packaging and labeling can be where a little bit of deception takes place in our market. For instance, a distillate product might be represented as a full entourage or something where it really isn't because they've added a couple of cannabinoids. So I'd like to see something that regulates exactly on the labeling stuff like harvest dates, the source flower date when it was harvested, a manufacturing date, which is very important, along with expiration dates, source batch information following all the way back to the flowers so that everybody can know exactly where these products started, where they went through, what they went through, be it whatever type of process. It could be anything from rosin to BHO, which is a butane hash oil, closed loop equipment, just a different way of making concentrates. But I believe that what I found here in Arizona is they've really started to concentrate on the labeling, the packaging, the information given, and to make sure that, you know, people are being represented and not, and they know exactly what they're taking. I myself have had the opportunity to make so many different types of products over the past 10 years for the medical industry. These don't become the most sold in our facilities because recreational has kind of taken over Arizona. But I have found in the past our medical patients have really benefited the most from tinctures, topicals, lozenges, suppositories, sublingual strips, capsules, patches, lotions, creams, body balms, muscle jellies, bath salts, and another product that hasn't ever been mentioned that we particularly make, which is nasal spray. In the nasal spray, we find a new type of technology called nano technology, which allows the molecule of the THC to be broken down, and it's for a faster absorption into the system, and it is faster acting. So, and as I've heard from all of your speakers, and they all have great information, each different type of concentrate is beneficial to different types of patients. So you're going to have some patients that want to control arthritis. You have some patients that just have really, you know, inflammation. You have patients with anxiety. Sleep disorder happens to be a huge one for our patients here. I find that certain products just happen to work better for certain people, and they don't really know until they've tried them. As far as trying to determine what's the best type of way of processing an oil, they're all very safe. I hear everybody so far speak to products that are like what I call a live rosin. A rosin would be pressed directly from the flower, which is non-solvent, and even though it might be very clean and definitely a safe way, it's extremely costly because you can only press a certain percentage of these oils through a rosin press. It's not cost effective at the end of the day, and we have definitely found that some of these other types of manufacturing, such as distillate or live resin, which is taking the flower and freezing it directly from the soil. It's fresh frozen, and then it gets run through whatever type of process. We found, you know, each different type of extraction benefits a different section of our patients. I also find it very important to speak about the communication between the grower and the manufacturer or the lab, so that they're growing the proper, sativas and indicas and hybrids all have different things that they offer to patients, and we want to make sure that there is a good amount of each one of those to be able to get to the Nebraska patient. I have a lot of experience in all these different types of manufacturing, but what I found the most important is tracking. And just to throw it out there for you guys, we use a system called Dutchie. We've gone through about 5 different systems so far in the last 12 years, and Dutchie, D-U-T-C-H-Y, seems to be the best seed-to-sale tracking. That's just a side note for you guys to look into. but I do want to say that it's very important to have the communication between the grower and the manufacturer before they actually start planting and growing. And it's also not realistic for the growers to need to finish the product as flour. They can directly freeze it or cure it. That's a cured resin or a live resin. They both have different properties that benefit the public. And then testing. Testing becomes very important on all behalfs. At this point, because there is no smoking of flour, it's not as beneficial for the grower to test their product as it is once it's run through whatever type of.
Sir, I'm going to have to interrupt you.
concentrate.
The commission has an item that they have to get to at 2:30, so we're going to have to move on to our 2:30 agenda item. Thank you, though.
Thank you.
I appreciate the time and I appreciate your thoughts. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me on your own.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 13, Chair.
Okay, the time is now 2:30, and the commission will move to the agenda item for cultivator updates. The commission sent invitations to the two previously licensed cultivators, Patrick Thomas and Midwest Cultivators Group. Is either licensee present today? Both?
We're with Midwest Cultivator.
Okay, very good. Why don't you guys come on up? Thank you.
If you don't mind, we're both going to come up, so
Sure,
I'll bring a chair. That's all
absolutely.
right. Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Hannes Setch. I'm an attorney with Baird Home Law Firm. So we represent Midwest Cultivators Group. Yes, of course. Hannes Setch, Hannes, and my last name is Zetche, Zetzsche. I'm here mainly to introduce my client here. Nancy Laughlin-Wagner is the CEO of Midwest Cultivators Group. So I'll go ahead and leave it there. I'm here to answer any compliance or legal questions you may have about our license, and then Nancy can kind of talk through the process that we've undergone so far and what we have in store and obstacles we face so far. And then, we were hoping to kind of follow the format you used earlier, just a few minutes of opening remarks, then we'll have to answer any questions you may have.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Nancy Laughlin-Wagner, and I am the CEO of Midwest Cultivator Group. So that's NANCYLAUGHLIN-WAGNER. So first, I just want to start out by saying thank you for inviting us. It's really good to be here. We feel like you've taken a really thoughtful approach to making sure that a new industry coming to Nebraska is done so in a safe and measured way, so that patients can have access to it.
I can pull the mic a little closer.
Oh, sure. Do you want me to repeat anything?
No, it's just easy.
Okay.
It's easier for me to hear.
Okay, thank you. I'll try and speak up as well, but yeah, I do hope our conversation today is helpful. So in our business plan, we committed to building a highly secured, fully indoor greenhouse that would allow us to grow safe, consistent, and reliable product for patients across Nebraska, and we want to operate that year-round. So since we got our license, we took the time to start interviewing facility design experts because they are pretty technical buildings. And it's where you highly control all of your temperature, humidity, lighting, etc. And I'm happy to say that we've selected someone to help us design that. I will like to share with the commission, though, one of the key lessons that we learned, that we heard it multiple times from different people, was if you build too big, you risk failure, especially in new markets. So there's something to be really mindful there. These are not insignificant capital investments that we're going to make. And so we want to ensure that we're good stewards of that, and we also want to make sure that we are a sustainable business because patients are counting on it. And so
that was just interesting insight I thought I'd share today with the commission. So we're currently in the process of finalizing our land lease agreement and working at the same time with this vendor to help us with our blueprint design. So that process here is probably going to take us the next couple months to get those done. Our approach and everything that we do is to be patient-centered. I'm a registered nurse. I also have on my team a farmer and a CPA, so we have a very different backgrounds, but together we make a really strong team, and we both believe in making patients the center of what we're doing, but also to keep in mind our top priorities of being safe and secure and compliant with the Commission's rules. I think we've heard it a couple times today, but I would like to just take this time to share. When we talk about significant capital investments and wanting to be sustainable, there's a lot of interdependencies on the different license types. So I need to be able to fully understand when a manufacturer will be online. They're going to need to know when the dispensary is on. And I'm sure you can appreciate that, but I think a timeline to when we could bring it to Nebraska is best going to be really known, once all those license holders are identified. It's just a lot, it leaves a lot of unknowns. You know, what ultimately the patients, how many there'll be, to what strains we're going to grow, etc. And so I think that's probably the next challenge in front of us. But in terms of timeline, I think that's what you guys wanted to know. Our original business plan, we said 8 months, about 8 months lead time. And that's our goal. You know, we are working as fast as we can to do the work that's in front of us. I know we've hit a couple of mild challenges, and I thank the Bo and the Commission to help us get things like the bond form so that we could get our surety bonds completed. I think that's been great to have that collaboration, and so, you know, barring any other unforeseen things, we're really working to that timeline. And from there, I open it up to questions.
Okay. Well, I have one. Okay. Always.
Sure.
You said 8 months lead time, so 8 months until plants planted or seeds planted, or 8 months?
Until we would be planting.
Until planting. Okay.
Yeah, and you know, that's again another piece to that whole marketplace. Do we want to be growing if there's no one to sell it to?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, trying to take a conservative approach, yet run as quickly as we can to be ready.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that. You know, we feel the same kind of time crunch up here as far as getting other licenses, you know, ready to go, approved, all of those things. But I also feel like we were kind of on a deadline to get licenses to begin with, and I feel like for us it was important to take a step back and hear from manufacturers on what is, you know, some of the processes that we need to be aware of, and some of the things that we needed to know before we can start looking at those applications. And so we don't know what we don't know, and no one doesn't, you know, it's the same for everybody. And so for us learning a little bit more, so we want to make sure that we know more for manufacturers, because I think that is a big, that's going to be a big piece of what we do for this program in the state. So making sure that we are asking the right questions and having people submit the right information. So,
and I think that's part of the thoughtful approach that we see, that we appreciate, because it's a new industry here, and there's a lot to know, and we want to do it well.
I would say I heard a couple times from the manufacturers who spoke also that dialogue between the cultivators and manufacturers is going to be really important. And, you know, dialogue between us and the commission as well. So I think today is helpful in that, and we welcome that dialogue on an ongoing basis too.
And I was just going to speak to some, I have a question maybe somewhere in here, that someone had mentioned earlier about the different kinds of strains. And so do you have any ideas of what you might be thinking of planting, or is it going to depend on what different manufacturers
Yeah,
want?
I think it's going to depend on a lot of things, like how many people sign up, what products people want, what manufacturers are going to want to see. The time to grow can really vary from a few months to longer, at 8 months. And so we are, I guess, anxious or, looking forward to knowing who our other partners are going to be in the industry so we can finalize all those decisions. I think the collaboration will be key.
Just one thing, where will your facility be located?
Right now, our address is just outside of the Omaha city limits, but it's within Douglas County.
West, I assume.
North and slightly west.
Okay.
Are you working on the lease still, is that what you said?
We're finalizing it, yes.
What's the timeline there?
I would think within the next month. I don't have anything for sure. I mean, the sooner we finalize, the better. But we're talking about someone else owns the land and then we'll own the building, and what does that look like? So there's a few options on the table right now that we're discussing. Yeah.
I can't think of anything right now. But thank you for coming. If there's anything that the commission can do for you, if you have issues, obviously, you've already found a way to connect with us. So please do that. And if there are things that you feel like we need to take into consideration and we need to know, please, feel free to reach out.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next licensee, Patrick Thomas, is he present today?
I am here on behalf of Mr. Thomas, and I have his remarks in front of me that I have shared. Hopefully you can all see them. And then I'd like to speak briefly if I could.
Okay. Can you state your name for us?
Sure, forgive me. My name is Perry Persh, and I'm an attorney. I happen to be on a little bit of a trip with my wife and my soon-to-be 4-year-old son, who may or may not interject at times, depending on his mood. So you're forewarned. But my background actually is in law and public policy. I don't often roll a joint, but if I do, it's usually my ankle. So I confess I don't know much about the technical aspects, and Pat Thomas, I believe, is at a training today, in fact, is why he can't be here, as he is learning more and more about the industry. But he asked me to give you an overview of what he has been doing. One is property interior refinements and operational improvements to make sure that the cannabis is in a controlled state-of-the-art facility, that it will be temperature controlled to avoid the risk of any sort of molds, contaminants, cross strains, etc. And he's actively working with a number of subcontractors. Now, one of Pat Thomas's strengths is in contracting, but he has been working with an electrical company and also with a security company, and they are revising the plans based on additional data and information that they've received about the industry so that it is more secure and better protection. They are not redoing the plans that they submitted to the council or commission that were accepted, obviously, but they are trying to improve upon those plans to address any possible worst-case scenarios or contingencies. And this has been I think, a challenging process for Pat Thomas, who is very much a doer, because there is so much to know, and as was touched upon before, there are a lot of known unknowns. And so we are still gathering a tremendous amount of data to make sure that the capital-intensive initial build-out covers all of the contingencies. And so there has been some delay based on bonding and some of the regulatory uncertainty. Pat has been totally committed to this endeavor, and in fact, he has sold one of his two commercial entities, the Thomas Tracks LLC, and he has found a buyer for the Pat Thomas Construction Company, and will be selling his construction company as well to focus full-time on this endeavor. We expect the first viable harvest still to be in the summer of 2026. There will be some initial seed germination inside in the greenhouses. There will be product outside, and then it is his hope that the harvest will be ready for processors by mid-July. I have cautioned him everything takes twice as long and costs twice as much as you think it should. The genetics we expect primary to come from GTR seeds in Oregon. He is looking at who will be necessary for staffing and how to ensure that they go through full compliance checks, background checks, and then onboarding and orientation, which would be part of my job in regard to the regulations impacting the growers and making sure that they understand them and that they're available to them. But again, I apologize that Mr. Thomas could not be here in person, but he is actually, this week prior to the meeting announcement, he had signed up for travel and training. And the goal is still to provide reasonable assurances to the commission that we are meeting all of the regulations, and more importantly to the people who would be using the product, that they're being protected, and that we are meeting and exceeding all of the durable precautions that are necessary.
Okay, thank you. Any commissioners, any questions?
I don't have any. Okay, well, I feel like you're letting me off easy, but I certainly appreciate that. And
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Chair, now the commission would return to item 7 on the agenda. And for items 7, 8, 9, 10, I would recommend that Mr. Chafee come up as he can provide the commission explanation should they have any questions or concerns about those items.
Thank you. The next order of business is to review and approve a shared services agreement with the Department of Administrative Services. The proposed agreement would authorize DAS to provide the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission and Medical Cannabis Commission with human resources support. The types of support DAS would provide are articulated in the proposed agreement. So,
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about this.
thank you.
There are over a dozen small commissions and agencies similar to our size that currently work with DAS in their shared services division to essentially outsource their HR to DAS. And what this does is frees up an individual we have in our office who manages as the office manager, but also as the HR coordinator for our office. In return, we get specialized HR services, and there's a list here, and I'd like to, it's the attachment here that we have. We have the ability to use them for recruitment, onboarding, benefits, consulting, workforce planning, policies and procedures guidance, employment law, employee relations, disciplinary procedures, leave management, health and safety, workers' compensation, termination and transition, and payroll. So this would be something that both the Medical Cannabis Commission and the Liquor Control Commission would both be reviewing this week as part of the public meetings. So we'd ask for your approval and review of this document.
I move to approve the agreement.
All right, there's been a motion to approve and a second. A roll call, please.
Muting,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Steinhorst,
Yes.
Elworth.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. The next order of business is to review and approve a modified agreement between the Liquor Control Commission and the Medical Cannabis Commission. The proposed modifications would allow LCC to provide additional services and support to the MCC. Is there a motion and a second to approve the agreement, or maybe perhaps Mike?
Yeah, I'm happy to clarify this.
Thank
So
you.
I started my role in the beginning of October, and this interagency agreement was available for me to sign. And at that time, it was for purely administrative services. To clarify what that would be, there was a Medical Cannabis Commission email as a main contact that the public could use to send information. We used when I started, we used our front office staff to assist with that and then escalate where needed when we received those messages. Later on, it was communicated to the Liquor Control Commission that we would be kind of taking over anything assisting the Medical Cannabis Commission that was not purely legal work. So we had worked with DHHS, who was going to be phasing out of their assistance, and we would be stepping in. So to provide more clarity on the work that we would be asked of us, in addition to what we were currently doing with administrative services, there was additional language to include what administrative services meant and what type of delegated authority would come for newly added professional services. Additionally, there was some changes made to the budget and funding that would give, LCC would give MCC funds as agreed to by LCC. There was no stipulation on a required or a set amount, but something that we would work on a case-by-case basis, as MCC is working currently to have their own established budget with this next legislative session. We just felt these changes were appropriate.
I move to approve the modified agreement.
I'll second. There's been a motion to approve and a second. Roll call, please.
Muting,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Steinhorst,
Yes.
Elworth.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. The next order of business is to approve expenses for CANRA membership and attending the CANRA conference in December. The commission has joined CANRA, and I forgot off the top of my head what CANRA stands for.
CANRA is the Cannabis Regulators Association.
Okay, perfect. which is an organization comprised of cannabis regulators from states across the country. The membership fee for joining CANRA was $3,450. The invoice is dated November 14th, 2025. Is there a motion and a second to approve paying the invoice for this membership fee?
So moved.
All second. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Muting.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Steinhorst.
Yes.
Elworth.
Yes.
The motion carries. We also have the opportunity to send individuals to attend the annual CANRA conference being held in December. The commission would like to send up to 3 individuals to the conference and needs to authorize incurring the expenses of the conference. The cost for the conference registration for 3 people is $2,654.76, and there will be additional costs for expenses. Is there a motion and a second to authorize incurring the expenses for sending up to 3 individuals to the conference?
So moved. Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Muting.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Steinhorst.
Yes.
Elworth.
Yes.
The motion carries. The next order of business is to review and approve expense policies for the commission. The commission has been provided with proposed policies regarding the approval of expenses. We have been provided with copies of those policies. In summary, if approved, this would allow certain expenses below $5,000 to be incurred prior to receiving final approval from the commission. The commission will vote to ratify all expenses of $100 or more at the next meeting. Expenses exceeding $5,000 require direct approval by the commission during a public meeting. Also included are provisions regarding emergency spending and out-of-state travel. Is there any discussion on these proposed policies? Well, based on today's discussion or no discussion, it sounds as though the commission agrees with the proposed policies. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the policies as drafted?
So moved.
I'll second. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Muting.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Steinhorst.
Yes.
Elworth.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. The motion carries. The next order of business is to discuss the extension of the emergency regulations. The current emergency regulations expire at 11:59 p.m. on December 8th. The commission will need to vote to extend the current emergency regulations so that the regulations remain in full force and effect as a promulgation process for permanent regulations move forward. Is there any discussion on whether the commission should extend the current emergency regulations?
I move to extend the emergency regulations.
Okay, there's a motion to extend the current emergency regulations.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Muting.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Steinhorst.
Yes.
Elworth.
Yes.
The motion carries. We will move those emergency regulations forward to extend. The next order of business is to approve the reconsideration decisions for the applications submitted by Krista Eggers and Casey Sledge on behalf of Stone Pine Works LLC. The commission held the reconsideration meetings for both applications on November 3rd. After the meeting, the commission considered the information provided during the meeting. The commission now needs to vote to formalize its decisions regarding both reconsiderations. A copy of the written decision will be sent to the applicants after today's meeting. First, let's take up the reconsideration of the application submitted by Krista Eggers. The commission was provided information and supporting documentation that Ms. Eggers was provided incorrect information regarding submission of her application, and that misinformation more likely than not would have prejudiced Ms. Eggers with regard to other applicants. As a result, the commission rescored Ms. Eggers' application utilizing the supplemental information she provided. The new average score is 66. The commissioners have then provided a draft response reflecting our decision.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, is there a motion and a second to adopt the commission's decision to Ms. Eggers' reconsideration?
So moved.
I have a motion from Judge Coffey, and I will second that. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Muting,
Yes?
Coffee,
Yes.
Steinhurst,
Yes.
Elworth.
Yes.
Motion carries. This decision just approved the commission would not make Ms. Eggers eligible for a cultivator license offer. Is there a motion to adopt the new average score of 66 and send Ms. Eggers and Josh Egley a denial letter?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Muting,
Yes?
Coffee,
Yes.
Steinhurst,
Yes.
Elworth.
Yes.
Now let's take, the motion carries, excuse me. Now let's take up the reconsideration of the application submitted by Casey Sledge on behalf of Stone Pine Works LLC. The commission was provided information and supporting documentation from the applicant. As a result, the commission decided not to rescore the application using the supplemental information she provided. The commission is standing on its original application scores. The commissioners have been provided with a draft response reflecting our decision. Is there a motion and a second to adopt the commission's decision on the reconsideration?
So moved.
And I can second that. Is there any discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Muting,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Steinhurst,
Yes.
Elworth.
Yes.
Motion carries. The decision just approved by the commission reflects that the commission is standing on its original decision. As such, denial issued by the commission stands, and a copy of the decision will be sent to the applicant.
Chair, you've already handled item 13 on the agenda, 2:30, so now the commission would move to item 14.
Thank you. The next order of business is to discuss the cultivator license applications. At the October 7th commission meeting, the commission voted to pull the next two applications from the lottery. The evaluation team has reviewed and evaluated the next two applications. The evaluation team scored both applicants at 70 or below, making those applicants ineligible to receive an offer of licensure. Those applicants are Fawn Burns on behalf of Lumen River LCC and Catherine E. Brennan Weber on behalf of Monarch Edge LLC. Let's take up the Fawn Burns on behalf of Lumen River LLC application. Is there a motion and a second to deny the application and issue a denial letter to the applicant based on the application score?
So moved.
And I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Muting,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Steinhurst,
Yes.
Elworth.
Yes.
The motion carries. Next, let's take up Catherine E. Brennan Weber on behalf of Monarch Edge LLC. Is there a motion and a second to deny the application and issue a denial letter to the applicant based on the application score?
So moved.
And I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Muting,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Steinhurst,
Yes.
Elworth.
Yes.
The motion carries. Since the commission voted to deny two applications, denial letters will be sent to those applicants. All applicants that receive a denial letter have 10 business days to request a reconsideration meeting. The denial letters will be dated December 3rd, and the applicant will have until December 17th to request reconsideration. The commission will not be able to award a license to the next applicant until the reconsideration time period expires. If a reconsideration is requested, the reconsideration meeting will need to be scheduled and decided upon prior to decisions being made on the next two applications. If an applicant does not request reconsideration, the commission will need to review an additional application in the order drawn. To prevent further delay in issuing all cultivator licenses, the commission could move forward with evaluating the next two applications during the reconsideration time period. The commission could, however, wait to see if a request for reconsideration is submitted before beginning the evaluation of the next two applications. What are your thoughts on how we should proceed?
What's been the practice in the past of the commission on a situation like this?
Well, I believe we waited.
I'm sorry, Judge, I didn't hear you.
I believe we waited to see if they asked for reconsideration. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, let me help you, Judge. What the last time this came up, what the commission did was they voted to pull the next two applications and score those without making a decision pending the reconsideration. So the way that worked is that if that commission wants to this time, the next two applications by bond will be pulled. You all will decide who the evaluators are. Those applications will be brought into the evaluation. They will score those applications pending reconsideration. What that did is allow, like today, where the commission voted on the previous two applications, you then have scores ready to go once the reconsiderations are done. So it allows the commission to move forward as quickly as it can without adding additional delay.
Can we agree that if we pull two at once, the first one pulled will be for Burns? In other words, in case she does not appeal, and that the second one would go for the second application?
No, the way the law would work, Judge, would pull the next two, those would be scored, depending on the reconsideration. So if the reconsideration of what would now be 4 and 5, 5 and 6, if one of them should get the reconsideration, a license would be issued, and then the next number in order of the lottery would then be, yeah, correct, would then be substituted.
I guess what I'm trying to get straight is, what if only one appeals? Can we proceed on
Yes.
one of the next?
Yes.
And that's my point.
Yes.
Which one would it be, the first one we
The
pull out
first
of the
number.
lottery?
It would be number 7.
Would be number 7.
Okay, just so we're straight on who that is.
Yes. When we don't know who they are right now, but
Right.
once they're pulled, we will know who that application number 7 is. They're all applications were arranged, randomized in order, and they're all numbered.
So
I've
number
got that.
7.
I'm just trying to make sure that we have a procedure where if one is an appeal, for example, the first one that we draw out of the two would go to a specific licensee.
Yes.
If that person didn't appeal, then we could process it.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
I think we should pull 7 and 8, and,
I agree.
yeah. So
I think that seems reasonable since that's what's happened in the past.
Well, it also speeds it up.
Right.
And that's
Yes.
part of the problem, is the appellate process in these procedures slows us completely. It just stops us.
So based on this discussion, I believe the commission would like to move forward with conducting the evaluations of the next two applications. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Muti,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Steinhorst,
Yes.
Elwer.
Yes.
Motion carries. We will need to designate evaluators. Do we all want to review and score the applications independently and submit scores to one member for tallying and then bring the results back to the board? Do you have other ideas? Do we want to stick to the 3 folks who have evaluated before? Let's talk about that.
I don't remember how we decided the last time.
It was
The 3.
It was decided because we were it. We got chosen because we got chosen, because we were it. You didn't have a choice.
All right.
Personally, I feel like with cultivators, the evaluation team, nothing against our 2 new folks. Super glad to have you, by the way. But I feel like maybe for remainder of the cultivator licenses, it should be the same 3 evaluators, and then we can look at an evaluation team comprised of different folks after that if we wanted to. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, it would be consistent, at least the same 3 would be evaluated now that actually evaluated in the past. Nothing against our new members, but in fairness to all the people that have already applied, the same people probably should be evaluated. But
I'm good.
unless you want to volunteer, do it for
There'll
us.
be plenty. Don't worry. You'll get your chance.
So then, based on that discussion, Chair, you would seek a motion to designate Judge, yourself, and Doc Oldenburg as evaluators for the next set.
Can I have a motion that says that?
So moved.
Can we have a motion
Second.
and a second? Any discussion? All right, the motion carries.
You have to vote.
Oh,
Chair.
sorry, roll call.
Muting,
Yes,
Coffee,
Yes.
Steinhorst,
Yes.
Elwer.
Yes.
the motion carries. The next order of business is to discuss application periods for manufacturers, dispensaries, and transporters. The commission needs to consider whether to set application time periods for the remaining 3 types of registered cannabis establishments. Let's take up transporters. Is there any discussion on setting an application time period for transporters?
I don't, do we have, I don't think we've ever discussed this before, have we?
We discussed it at the last meeting.
Up in the February or March or
The commission has tabled this, this particular agenda item from our last meeting to today's meeting in hopes that maybe after speaking to some of the manufacturers and the cultivators, you have some more insight as to whether or not you want to set application time periods at this time.
what would be the problem with setting some kind of deadline down the road, which we could also modify if we had to? At least to give people a heads up if they're thinking about it.
I don't necessarily disagree. I think, we've been working under